Alright, here we go. So I was sitting there, writing the script for my first episode when I realized that, hey, a lot of people may not know what the f*** an EV and IV are. So I decided I would talk about some of the topics and areas that I'll be presenting to you guys in the future videos, and give some context behind certain terms and aspects. So, in this video I'll discuss what it means when I'm saying certain nerd things, like catch rate, EXP gains, stat gains and spreads, hidden abilities, EVs and IVs, weather, and some other rules and common knowledges in each category I'll be looking at. 3 areas of gameplay I'm looking at is regular playthroughs, Nuzlocke, and VGC. Let's start with a playthrough. Pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to spell out what it means. Instead I want to talk about some of the important aspects that can be crucial to a regular run. First up is catch rate. As said by Bulbapedia, which is a resource place for Pokemon information, each species of Pokemon has a catch rate that applies to all its members. When a Pokeball is thrown at a wild Pokemon, the game uses that Pokemon's catch rate in a formula to determine the chances of catching that Pokemon. Higher catch rates mean that the Pokemon is easier to catch, up to a maximum of 255. The other most complicated part about a regular playthrough is when you look at the EXP gain of a Pokemon. To save making this video an hour long, I'll quickly introduce the types of EXP. All Pokemon level up to 100, and it takes a certain amount of EXP to get to level 100. These certain amounts are broken down with categories. The categories that need the least EXP to hit 100 is erratic, needing only 600,000 experience points, and the slowest is fluctuating, which needs 1,640,000 EXP. The other categories in between these two are fast, medium slow, and slow. Usually, Pokemon will be based into these groups depending on the type they are, and how rare they are and how powerful their stats are. But I'll explain more about the certain EXP groups when I make videos of Pokemon in that group. Second up is a Nuzlocke. The core rules are as follow. Any Pokemon that faints is considered dead, and must be released or put in the Pokemon storage system permanently. Grim, I know. The player may only catch the first wild Pokemon encountered in the area, and none else. If the first wild Pokemon encountered flees or faints, there are no second chances. If the first encounter in the area is a double battle, the player may choose which of the two they would like to catch, but may only catch one. This restriction does not apply to Pokemon that are being able to be caught during static encounters like legendary encounters, nor to shiny Pokemon. Some of the other not so important rules are that you may only use Pokemon that you have caught yourself, so you can't get ones through trading or Wonder Trade. Also, you're not allowed to voluntarily reset your game if something goes wrong. And probably the most disturbing rule of all, and I pulled this from a website that states the rules, the player must nickname all of their Pokemon for the sake of forming stronger emotional bonds. AKA, so when it dies, you feel real shit.
I'm struck. I appreciate that. well, Gen 4 is my favorite gen, but I'm not like... Oh, no counter. No counter. I don't know how we win this gym now.
There are a bunch of other variations and other side rules that you can implement to make the game a little bit more interesting, and I'll add a link in the description to some of those below. Finally, VGC. This is an absolute monster to tackle, so I'm not going to. There is literally a whole handbook dedicated to the VGC, and most of the basic stuff can be found in my original blog post, which I'll also put in the description below. So in this section I won't be talking about the rules so much, but rather about what aspects of a Pokemon is important when making a VGC team, and talking about the most intricate parts of making the perfect competitive Pokemon. Remember those little things I mentioned at the beginning of the episode? EVs and IVs? Well, this is where things get a little crazy. I pulled the following information from Smogon, and we'll put the link in the description below. EVs, or effort values, are numbers that give a certain stat's extra points. Every 4 EVs give an extra stat point at level 100. And the maximum number of EVs for every stat is 252. In addition, you'll only get a total of 508 EVs to give to each Pokemon. Keeping up, the best way to spread your EVs is to think about which stats your Mon will be using most, and then spread it across those stats. The most common EV spread is to put 252 points into the 2 most important stat areas, and then 4 into an area that may be lacking. So, for example, if you have a quick physical attacker, you might put 252 EVs into attack and speed, and then the last 4 into defense, just to give it that little bit of extra boost. Then there's IVs, or individual values, also determine a Pokemon's actual stats. There are 31 IVs to spend on each stat, and each IV equates to 1 stat point at level 100. What this means is that 31 IVs for every stat is usually the best thing to do. But sometimes a Pokemon will have a stat that they don't really rely on or use at all, so many mons may have 5 perfect IVs and 1 not so good one. EVs and IVs are important to create a particular Pokemon and on how you plan to use them. For example, you may not want a fast team because you're going to use the move Trick Room to set up, which means that once you use Trick Room, all the speeds are flipped so the slowest will go first. This can mean that you train half of your team to be slower, but have higher defense stats so that they can live the first turn while Trick Room is getting set up. So there's lots of different ways you can build your team based around your game plan. This leads us to natures. All Pokemon have natures, and you can breed your Pokemon to have specific words. You might be thinking, why would you do that? And the answer is, for the stats. It's always about the stats. Most natures will raise one stat by 10% while decreasing another by the same amount, but some do nothing at all. Again, using the fast physical or attacker example, you'd probably want to breed for an adamant nature, which increases physical attack and lowers special attack, which you won't be using anyway. Getting the right nature and the right invested EVs and the perfect IVs on their team is often one of the differences between a regular player and a great VGC player. Now for hidden abilities. Every Pokemon has an ability, with some being more useful than others. However, only some Pokemon have access to something called a hidden ability, which is generally more powerful and useful than regular abilities, but harder to come by. Ways to get a hidden ability in Pokemon Sword and Shield are through max raid battles or through a small chance while breeding a Pokemon. There have also been rumors that there'll be a new item introduced to Sword and Shield in the next DLC that will allow you to switch your Pokemon's ability for its hidden ability. An example of a hidden ability is if we look at Venusaur, its regular ability is Overgrowth. When its HP is below 1/3 of its max, its Grass-type moves are powered up by 50%. But its hidden ability is Chlorophyll, which is when it's in the sun, its speed is doubled, which is vastly more important for a VGC style Venusaur. The final thing I wanted to talk about in this video is weather. Weather control is a very important aspect in VGC. Bulbapedia says, weather is a set of mechanics in the Pokemon games that change the battle environment, activating abilities, modifying certain moves, and potentially damaging the Pokemon in battle or affecting their stats. The most common weather effects are harsh sunlight, sandstorm, hail, and rain. However, in Gen 6, terrains were introduced and work very similarly to the weather. There are grassy, electric, mystic, and psychic terrains, all with their own abilities and effects. All weathers and terrains can be set up through particular abilities, moves, and Dynamax moves, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about all of them right now. But I just wanted to make sure that the concept of weather was understood so that I could talk about specific weathers and their uses in relation to particular Pokemon in future videos. That's going to wrap it up for this one though. Now, not all this information will be relevant for every video I post in the future, but I figured it'd be helpful for people who don't know much about the finer details in the Pokemon games to have some context to help them understand some of the aspects I'll be looking at in the future videos, so that they're not just left there scratching their heads going, what the hell are you talking about? But that all being said, that's going to be it for this one. I know it was a lot of information, but I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Take care of yourselves, guys. See ya.